Hello everyone and welcome to the Smashi Business Show. New Year. So yeah, it's January 2nd, Friday 2025 and I'm Abdul Majid Awan.
And I am Warid Badawi, and for today's headlines, Abu Sabah is staying in jail in this new year. His 150 million dirham fine has been cancelled, and Warner Bros. Discovery is poised to reject the $108 billion Paramount Skydance bid, and Saudi AI firm Humain has received its first shipment of Nvidia's advanced AI chips.
So it's very interesting New Year. How was your New Year? But did you see the fireworks? You said you'll see it from your mother's room.
I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna sound a bit lame, but I was just scrolling and I went to sleep. I was watching Stranger Things.
Nice.
It was insane.
That happened also.
Do you watch it, Majid?
No, I stopped watching after the third season, I think. This was the fifth season?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see the fourth season because it became too repetitive and they were not able to kill him. So I was like, nah, doesn't matter anymore. It's too lame now. But then I saw the final episode with my wife and it was interesting how they ended it.
You just skipped the season and went to the last episode?
Because at the end of the day, it's good versus evil. Someone has to win. Who dies? I just wanted to know if anyone dies. I saw a cliffhanger where Steve is hanging and somehow they black out the screen and then...
You know what it is, I think, with the entire show, Majid? For me, it just... it touches such a close place to my heart because when I started watching the show, I was their age.
Oh yeah.
All of the actors are 21 years old. So as the show is coming out, it's weird. It's like I'm growing up with them and I'm watching them in that exact age in real time. So to watch the final season of the show, it's oh my God, this is over.
I also grew up with it, right?
It's what shows did you grow up with, Majid? They were coming out during your time.
Thundercats, Tom and Jerry, Dexter's Lab, Cartoon Network was the cool thing. We didn't have Netflix at that time, but Baby's Day Out was the craze. I saw that movie 100 million times. I don't know how many times because we used to have a VCR and a cassette. So my father had 2 or 3 cassettes that we bought. There was Jack Frost. Apparently a father dies and he becomes a snowman and then he starts to teach his son ice hockey. So we grew up with that, but Netflix-wise, if you want, I have the first ever long season that I sat down and saw was Elemental. And a lot of people don't know about it. It's an alternate Sherlock universe. Sherlock has moved to America. He's British, but he's moved to America. And Dr. Watson is a female in that show. And it's a 5-season, 24 episode each. It's very interesting. If you really
Where is it stream?
It was on Hulu at some point, but I don't think it's on any of the... It's a very old show. But if you really want to understand Sherlock, if you haven't read the books, the people who've read the Arthur Conan Doyle books, they actually know what Sherlock is. He's not the Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock that we see. He's not the... What's the Iron Man? What's the name of Iron Man? Robert Downey Jr. He's not flashy at all. He's very calculated, silent, standing in the corner type of a person, observing everything. Benedict Cumberbatch, the Sherlock, he's too flashy, right? And he's in the new age using phone and Twitter and everything. But you actually want to understand how deductive reasoning works because Sherlock is famous for deductive reasoning, that he can see oh, this cup is like this and this has this and this. So this was used by a male or a female. So that is deductive reasoning. So that is why that was the first show. And then COVID came and COVID was I saw everything.
So
Suits,
That's when I watched Suits too, and Vampire Diaries.
I never saw Vampire Diaries. Would you imagine? It was the craze in my time.
It's such a good show.
I never saw Vampire Diaries. I was more into the other movies. I saw Twilight. I don't know why I saw all the Twilight movies.
But this is what I mean, though, Majid. Think of it like this. I feel with the end of Stranger Things, in a decade's time, the craze for the young people in that generation, I don't know what they're called anymore, betas, or I really don't remember, their craze is basically going to be Stranger Things for what Titanic was for me, as someone growing up, and I was, introduced to all of these nostalgic movies.
Yeah.
And I feel Stranger Things, honestly, it's just proof of Netflix cinema is not dead. A lot of people like to argue that, Netflix shouldn't purchase Warner Bros. Discovery due to their, movies. I know that they have a lot of cheesy films, but I think that Stranger Things is proof is that when they put a good budget, they have really good films.
So you were happy with the ending?
Man, I was so happy. I don't care about the
Even the
haters.
cliffhanger, weird cliffhanger, like, oh, maybe she's killed.
By the way, I haven't finished the last 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
I didn't get there.
Okay, I won't ruin
the
it for you.
episode is like over 2 hours.
Yeah,
Of
it's
course, I'm
very
gonna
long
pause
episode.
it. Let's keep this conversation at pause. But for the first story of the day, Dubai court has essentially cancelled the 150 million dirham fine in the high-profile Abu Sabah money laundering case while upholding a 5-year prison sentence, deportation, and other penalties against the main defendant.
And the ruling overturns a decision by the Court of Appeal, which had imposed the 150 million dirham fine on Balwinder Sani, very famously known as Abu Sabah, and 32 co-defendants. The funny thing about this story is no one talks about all of them. Everyone talks about Abu Sabah, but the Cassation Court instead ordered confiscation of illicit funds linked to the crimes.
So courts found that the defendants operated an organized criminal network laundering proceeds from drug trafficking and tax fraud. So investigators said the group used shell companies, suspicious transfers, and digital wallets to move money into and out of the UAE.
And Bitcoin was used extensively, as is with these all weird crypto transactions, with about 180 million dirhams transferred through crypto platforms before being converted into cash. One female defendant acquired properties and vehicles worth 7.4 million dirhams, which court said were used in criminal activities.
So the case began with a report to Dubai police in December 2024. Sahni, a property management firm owner, gained for basically buying the 33 million dirham number plate. Appeals citing procedural violations were rejected.
It's a very simple court case where all these technical terms come in, but very simply, he's not paying the 150 million fine.
Yeah.
Instead, all the assets that he has now, they will be taken from like bank accounts, houses, and that number plate, the very famous, I think number 5 number plate, which he bought. And I remember he showed off a lot of his wealth and gold and all these things. The important thing is, if you're doing something like this, don't be flashy. I think that is the...
You think that's what? Ooh,
don't show it,
you
otherwise
think he
people
got
will...
himself caught.
Yeah, why would you show it? Like, people would somehow try to find what are you doing, right? And there's like, the worst case for a criminal is where he shows off everything and someone sitting somewhere is like, oh, where did the money come from? And they
We
start
are not
looking
encouraging crime.
Yeah.
We are not encouraging crime in this new year.
It's just that criminals, psychologically also, I've read a lot of criminal thrillers and some criminology books, was studying for something at some point. But the idea is that people who do this stuff, they have this intrinsic, how do you call it, a feeling of presenting how smart they are, that they've beaten the system. Because crime is trying to beat the system, beat the laws, beat the sanity of, or the sanctity of the law. So they have this urge to present it. It's like if you've seen a lot of murder thrillers, you would know that every killer who does like multiple serial killings, they always leave a mark, or they have this style, or they always do something in a particular manner. Over the years, the real ones, I don't remember one of the names. He's very famous. He has a Netflix documentary. We were just talking about it. And he had a specific style. So all these people, whoever commits a crime, they have this intrinsic urge to show the world that, see, I beat the system. See,
You
I
know
beat
what?
the law. But
At
they get caught
same
at the end of the day.
At the same time, with these stories, I think with this entire Abu Sabah story, Majid, it reminded me of Lebanon's ex-central bank governor, Riyad Salama. I'm pretty sure that he came out of jail on this like $20 million bail and a 1-year travel ban.
Yeah.
This is what one man gets for allegedly robbing the Lebanese bank and Lebanese citizens of $90 billion in life savings. That was people's livelihoods. And they actually said that he money laundered it to like Panama and like shell companies there. And, his brother was also allegedly involved. And I just see the similarities between both cases.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how life can be unfair sometimes, especially in a case, in the sense of, you have this guy he's denied bail, even though he probably, maybe, perhaps has the money. I know some might argue otherwise. And, you have Riyad Salama and the damage that he has done. And did you see that interview that we published by Al Arabiya on Smashi Business of him basically blaming it on the Syrians? And it went to, I think, reconstruction in Syria. I mean, none of this makes any sense. I think in Saudi Arabia, very recently, we saw one of the most interesting probes that actually happened was that there were these two executives in the Diriyah project that's worth like $60 billion that were detained. And the investigation was by the Oversight and Anti-Corruption Authority, also known as Nazaha. And I think when we take a look at all of these cases, it's a sign and it's also a warning in a way of how here the governance is so strong. It could literally be things as simple as sick leaves. I know in Saudi, sick leaves are taken extremely seriously. You know that Majid, if like, say in Saudi Arabia, if your manager is like suspicious of you taking way too many sick leaves and you're not actually sick, they can take you to court. And then they can get you investigated. And in fact,
there was a story that we did.
I remember
there was
we did it
that
in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And in fact, if you like put out a fake sick leave, if you make one, I would not recommend. You'll actually get blacklisted from ever getting a job. There's like a black point that they could place on your citizen ID. But this is how strong governance is here.
Yeah, and also I think there's one side of it, the Ponzi schemes that we always talk about. This was a Ponzi scheme where I think he took people's money, promised them something, or there is also a money laundering angle that he was taking money from people who don't register and don't want to pay taxes and just want to move that money, clean the money, as it's called in financial terms, clean the money. So all these factors, the good thing is that there's the UAE whitelisting that happened recently in the last year. We'll refer to the last year a lot, I think, in the coming.
Can you explain that, Majid?
There's a Financial Action Task Force, FATF. A lot of countries are part of it. That helps you get lower taxes on your imports and exports. So if you want to trade with Europe, you have to be a part of FATF, and you have to be on the whitelist to get the best rate. So if I'm sending something from UAE to Europe, basically exporting stuff, I will be, for example, charged 10% of the price. But if I'm part of a FATF, Financial Action Task Force, I become a part of them, and I trade with them, and I'm on the white list, maybe I'll get a 5%. So that way, trade becomes easier, and a lot of countries, when they start trading with you, they look at your level. So there's a white list, gray list, and black list. Blacklist, no one will trade with you. All the countries, there's 160 plus countries in FATF. If 160 or 150, but if you're in the blacklist, no FATF country will trade with you. Or even if they trade, basically blacklist is the sanctions list. So it was Syria at some point, they were in the blacklist of FATF. UAE was in the grey list because a lot of people had contentions about this. They last year in 2025 jumped into the white list, and thankfully because of all the systems in place, all the regulatory procedures in place, that they went up in the from the grey list to white list. And to be honest, being in the grey list is not a bad thing. I think out of 150, nearly 100 countries are on the grey list. They're always moving from grey to white, white to grey. So it's a good thing. And I remember the whole 2025, there were a lot of stories about gold companies which are here registered, them being sanctioned, them being closed down because they were involved in money laundering, or they were not following the rules which are set in place. So all these
to transfer gold.
So all the regulatory procedures that the UAE followed throughout 2025 helped them jump up in the whitelist. And that is why we see so many criminal cases coming up where actual crime was actual crime happened and people were caught. Then there is companies which actually don't follow the rules. They're not doing any criminal activity, but there are procedures that they have to follow.
You know what it is, I think also with this story, Majid, I think it sends a really grand message to the world, because this story, I remember it even made it to the BBC. it was that famous at that time. And with it all, what it's basically saying is, do not think just because Dubai has so many millionaires and billionaires coming here that you can come and you can flee and you can just steal money and come here, or steal money here and get away with it.
Yeah.
You won't get away with it, and Abu Sabah didn't get away with it. Moving to our next story of the day, so Warner Bros. Discovery is expected to once again rebuff the $108 billion hostile takeover bid from Paramount Skydance, despite fresh backing from the billionaire Larry Ellison. That's about, I think, $40 billion, as board sentiment increasingly favors the alternative deal structures.
And sources familiar with the matter say Warner Brothers Discovery directors have not reached a final decision but are likely to meet next week. This week, basically. The board has remained officially silent, even as speculation intensifies across Hollywood and financial markets.
So in early December, a group of Middle Eastern investors agreed to commit $24 billion to underpin the bid, bringing together Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, Qatar Investment Authority, and Abu Dhabi-based Al Ahmad Holding.
And rejecting the offer could clear the way for a rival cash and stock deal with Netflix, obviously potentially weakening Paramount's argument that its bid would face fewer regulatory hurdles than a merger involving the streaming giants. And
the standoff comes as Netflix advances a $72 billion push to acquire Warner Bros. Discovery Studios and streaming assets, while Jared Kushner's Affinity Partners has reportedly exited Paramount Skydance's pursuit. Now, if you know one thing about Jared Kushner, is that he has Donald Trump's ear. Due to his wife, he is Donald Trump's son-in-law, and he is very involved, as we have seen, with the Saudis.
Yeah.
He was a part of the very recent acquisition of EA. I believe his VC fund, Affinity Partners, they got like $2 billion from Saudi Arabia.
$2 billion to start it. Later, ADIA and QIA then injected 1.5. So everyone is involved.
So this is what I mean. If Kushner is pulling out, that's a sign that maybe Donald Trump is going to give up the fight and he's going to pull out. But the Ellisons are still pretty close to the Trumps, so it's such an interesting dynamic, I think, here that's playing out.
Also, I think there's a lot of complications in this whole deal, obviously. So 2026 will be a year where we will keep discussing it once a while, every month, I think, whenever there's a new update, because obviously sovereign wealth funds are attached with this whole deal of Paramount taking over. But Netflix, to be honest, not being biased, but Netflix is, if they try to take over Warner Brothers, the deal won't close in 2026 because it's going to be so many trials about them becoming a very big company. So there's antitrust laws, there's so many things that can go wrong. There's so many senators, there's so many decision makers which can stop Netflix from taking over Warner Brothers Discovery. The only good thing in all of this I see is Warner Brothers Discovery are very happy. Their share price keeps going up. Now it's stabilized at $28 or $29 per share, but they were at some point at 20 and 21 at the start of 2025, and now they've moved up. So they're pretty happy that, we're so in demand. But as they should be, they're a big giant, and they come with a lot of titles which anyone would want.
They do, and I think that's exactly why this is still playing out. It's because of the fact that when Netflix made their bid, and I think that this difference is so important to know. Essentially, Netflix will be buying Warner Bros. Pictures, HBO, HBO Max, DC Studios, Warner Bros. Television, Warner Bros. Games, so basically all of their streaming channels, and they will also have TNT Sports and New Line Cinema. However, and this is a reason why Paramount's deal is not exactly going through very easily, and why maybe Warner Bros. Is not accepting it, is because they want everything. They don't just want the streaming channels. They also want CNN, they want CN, they want TBS, Discovery Plus. There are so many more subsidiaries that come with it. It is a advantageous all-cash deal, but they truly want everything, and I don't know if Warner Bros. is ready to give that up yet.
I don't know if they want to sell the whole company, they want to keep something. The idea is to just cash out and leave, but I think, in a way that's not bad for the actors. At the end of the day, whenever we talk about countries, whenever we talk about Syria, we always say, oh, the last person, the normal middle class, normal person should get the benefits of whatever is happening at the top. Likewise with Warner Brothers, they have so many studios where so many movies are made that Hollywood eventually will also get affected, because Netflix has this idea floating around. They have denied it that they will shut down cinemas, but Netflix just wants to do premieres on their screens. They don't want to do cinemas anymore.
I don't think I'm that mad about it, Majid, because think of it like this. I know that there were some great films that have been filmed here in the UAE, in Abu Dhabi, in the past few years. I think that includes Dune, that includes the very new F1 movie that I think is still trending with Brad Pitt. But my point here is to say that, do you maybe think that if this deal does happen, and that if, Netflix, just takes over and people don't need to go to the cinemas and they stream, do you think that Hollywood maybe will just come running here? The same way all of their creators have come running here, their billionaires have come running here. I think this might just be the next big step to find a studio that would maybe respect their craft. You know that apparently this year, Majid, actually had one of the worst, what's it called, the worst cinema eras ever, and that people were actually only in for horror films. But for some of the greatest films that have come out, no one's in the cinema. You think I'm gonna go watch Timothy Chalamet's new film? No way in hell. I'm just gonna wait for it to come out.
And it's, I think, the period between the cinematic release and the platform release, that is shortened also. I think F1 is still not on Disney. I don't know. I haven't done a search for it, but most probably they will. As soon as the cinema starts emptying up, they will put it up on platforms so they get more buck out of it. The main idea is that cinemas... it's funny how cinemas across the globe are doing bad, but cinemas in Saudi did great. There's a whole body which actually monitors the Saudi cinemas, because Saudi cinemas recently opened, not long ago. They reopened for women, families, and everyone. But their cinema is growing, their movies are doing great. Unfortunately, I haven't still seen any of the movies that we've done stories on. I would find a time where I will keep a week for only those movies. I will need subtitles. But I want to watch that cinema, that part of the cinema. UAE is full of... whenever you go to a cinema, there's no space. For the big movies, obviously, the first week is full. But the SpongeBob movie is out. I yesterday saw the trailer because my son was standing there. But there's a lot of movies that are coming out. The cinema trend will stay. I think for some movies, you can't watch them on a big screen. Even if you have a 100-inch TV at your home, you won't want that cinema crowd. Like the Avengers movie coming out December this year, end of this year. People would want to watch it in a cinema because the crowd that you get when... I remember the last Avengers movie when Captain America lifts the Thor hammer, right? Everyone went crazy. And at home, you may get that feeling that, oh my God, wow, so nice. But in a cinema, it's a completely different feel.
No, I totally get you. The day it came out, I found a way to get a ticket. I pre-booked it long ago.
So cinema industry may die or not, but here in this region, cinemas, which are part of the bigger malls, obviously, they're booming. We have a new whole downtown coming. Mr. Alabar is building that.
I meant it in terms of the actual production, Majid, because I don't think... I think other than... What's her name? Is it Lindsay Lohan? The American actress that just came and she stayed in... the girl from Mean Girls, and she came and she stayed in Abu Dhabi. We've never actually seen, Hollywood celebrities come and lead a grand life here and actually stay here. So it'll be interesting if we actually do see it. And right now, for our final story, the Public Investment Fund-backed AI company, the largest in Saudi Arabia, Humain, has just received its first shipment of Nvidia's latest artificial intelligence GPU chips, marking a major step in Saudi Arabia's push to rapidly expand large-scale data center and compute capacity.
And Humain chief executive, who was one of the dreamers in our list that we did on 31st December. You can watch it on our platforms. A lot of important people are there. He is there also. He shared the story as well. Confirmed the delivery in a LinkedIn post saying the company has received the latest state-of-the-art Nvidia AI GPU chips, and that teams are now focused on rapid deployment ahead of the new year.
Now, I love how he had just casually announced it on LinkedIn with like shipment boxes in a plain room. But the chips will support Humain's plans to build advanced computing infrastructure capable of training and running large AI models as Gulf states pour billions into AI to diversify their economies and capitalize on cheaper energy and state backing.
And Humain, chaired by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, His Royal Highness, the de facto ruler of Saudi Arabia, has expanded its partnership with Nvidia and plans to deploy up to 600,000 GPUs over 3 years, implying investment of $18 billion to $24 billion based on current chip prices.
So the company is also working with Amazon Web Services, Elon Musk's xAI, and other partners as Saudi Arabia positions itself as a global AI compute hub, even as analysts warn that capacity could soon exceed domestic demand and be exported abroad. I think that with this story, we heard Tariq Amin himself, the Jordanian-born American ex-Aramco Digital CEO, now CEO of Humain, basically say during FII, during the latest edition, that Saudi Arabia aims to be the world's third largest infrastructure provider after the US and China.
Yeah.
And we finally see that this is all coming together. And I think they're doing a lot, Majid, and it's the fact that they're doing a lot within such a short period of time.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe it.
It's only been, what, like 8 or 9 months
They
Humain is
launched it
there?
in May.
Yeah.
Like, are you joking?
And
This
they've
is
already done
crazy.
so much.
Oh my God. Like, how are even promotions working in that company? Seriously.
I would tell you, in the morning, it just reminds me, in the morning I was listening, I love listening to books now, and I don't listen to the whole book. I have this app, I don't market it, but it's a good app, Blinkist. They had a New Year deal. I usually listen to a free book on it. Every day they give you one free new book, so it's kind of like a surprise in the morning. Will I wake up with a self-help book or a finance book or whatever book? But I finally bought the subscription. It's very cheap. It gives you 15-minute summaries of the book, so it gives you the main pointers. In the morning, it was a very interesting book. It's called Depositioning. And I was listening to it, but throughout the book, I was only thinking about Saudi Arabia, UAE, and all the sovereign wealth funds. So the idea of the book is very simple. You don't fight someone on their position. And very interestingly, we always talk about first mover advantage, right? The book was all about being in the second place, always waiting. So they gave the example of Apple. They were like, they never produced a phone before. Like, it was never like Apple created the phone, someone else created the phone. Someone else created a laptop, someone else created a desktop. They came in, they saw that, oh, Microsoft computer was too big. They reduced the size. So second mover advantage, the book explained it so nicely that you can come in always, look at the first mover advantage, people see what they're doing, and then go to people and find the pain point. So they called it the hero pain point. Like, you go and you look at people, and the biggest
What is Saudi heroing here?
yeah,
though?
so Saudi, UAE, or the Middle East, there's a lot of hero pain points that we have. So we go to the sovereign wealth funds. We always talk about it. Silicon Valley, the heart of the money, the VCs, everyone is investing there. But there's a lot of racist tendencies. We've seen Amjad Masad very clearly putting it out. Last year, again, referencing to last year, Amjad Masad very clearly put it out when he was interviewing with Tucker Carlson, that a lot of Palestinian and Arab founders, they're scared of telling their nationality when they go for a pitch or anything.
So
they just want to
crazy.
say, oh, we're
And
American.
then we call them American and Canadian
Yeah.
and then they get mad. So you really, like, pick
So
a struggle.
idea is sovereign wealth funds don't care. That is their hero pain point. If you have a good idea,
That's a good
and we
point.
see it in across the Middle East. Every startup incubator that you look at, Abu Dhabi's Hub 71, DIFC has a startup incubator in Dubai. Saudi Arabia doesn't have like big names in startup incubators, but their VC funds and their startups, they're very well matched and talk to each other every day. So they found a pain point that, oh, our Arab founders are not getting the money from the US VCs or the European or the Western VCs. So that was their hero point. First of all, they invested in those startups, and then we're open to everything. Hub 71, I remember the last cohort email that they sent. We don't cover them a lot. We should, I think, the startups that are there, but Hub 71 has 28 cohorts. A cohort is a set of startups that they take in, and they help them find contacts, build, blah, 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 office space. Hub 71's 28 cohorts. If you count average 10 startups in every cohort, there's 280 startups. 70% of their startups are foreigners. So those people who didn't find money in their country and VCs in their country and support in their country, they actually came to Abu Dhabi. And they found the contacts, the money, the
That's
office space.
interesting because remember
So
the
this is the
Anthropic
hero
CEO,
pain point, right?
The Dario Amodei, the Anthropic CEO.
Oh, yeah.
He basically said that Gulf governments are like corrupt, and the logic that you shouldn't do quote unquote business with bad people.
Yeah.
It's just a logic that you can't run with. And then later on, we hear that he raised so much money, the valuation of Anthropic just literally tripled, and they got Qatar Investment Authority to back them. But I don't completely agree with the point that here they don't really care about the kind of thoughts that you have, Magic, because
It's not
look
thoughts.
at Fadi Ghandour.
Yeah.
He's been fighting against what Sean Maguire, the partner in Sequoia Capital, has been saying for quite some time now. If you've been following up with the Sean Maguire story, you know that he called Zahran Mamdani an Islamist, and then he managed to pin an entire shooting on a Palestinian student whom he does not know, and he ended up being wrong and he had to take it down. But it angered a lot of the founders here in this region, and WAMDA Capital is a great VC fund that I believe has backed Kareem, the Luxury Closet, and many great companies. But I think it is. I think, you know what it also is? I look at Amjad Masad, and, he might come and say that I've received a lot of pushback in Silicon Valley, and they've called him a Zionist. But in the end of the day, because they know that his product is good, they're really honestly ignoring what he's saying. And I think that's just with business dealings in general, Majid. I just think if you make a product so good, no one's going to fight you on it. And that's what's happening with Kim Kardashian. A lot of people know that her being in Israel is unethical, but
A whole
her
event
business...
for the Israeli IDF children.
But her business is still successful because the product is good, and it just it's an interesting line that they're towing.
I think that was the problem with the Arab founders. Their product was good, but no one was ready to invest. Or even if someone was investing, they were not evaluating them at a very high level. Sovereign wealth, and not even sovereign wealth, the money that is here, whatever term you can use, VC, PC, angel investment, personal investment, whatever you call it, these people finally looked at the local startups and they were like, yeah, they have the potential to grow. Because the West will never look at us and be like, oh, they have the potential to grow. Or, to be honest, if they're biased, like, oh, we should help them grow. Arab investors, the whole money here has finally started looking inside. Mudassir's post, remember, we did a post about Mudassir Sheikha, the Kareem founder, saying that in 2017 or 18, Uber got 3.5 billion from Saudi PIF instead of Kareem. He didn't want the money, or maybe, but he was like, this was like the peak period where we were fighting with Uber, a European brand, and we were building it from home. So then he moved on, and eventually he said...
Fighting with it how?
Because both of them nearly have the same origin time. Uber started in one city and then converted into a big brand in the whole country. And Kareem was in that time made in Dubai, operated from Pakistan. I still want to say that. It's majorly operated from Pakistan, the technical stuff. But the idea is that they were competing, and Saudi Arabia went on and invested $3.5 billion. To be honest, Rich made very good sense of it, that at that point, Uber was a bigger product and promised more ROI, right? If $3.5 billion was invested, 100% if Saudi has cashed out now, which we may see in regulatory filings, they would have made at least 12-13 billion of that 3.5, right? Kareem, same, but I don't think Kareem is big enough to match the ROI that Uber had at that point, and even now. But they're a very good local startup and they have a very nice infrastructure. The idea is that then Mudassir went on and said that they balanced it out now. We remember Yasir Rumayyan saying that we have 20-30% of portfolio outside, we're reducing 10%, bringing that 10% back into the country. So all these things show you that Saudi Arabia, coming back to the book, just one point, that depositioning is you find the most hero pain point of what the first movers are doing, and you, as a second mover, and
better?
Arab world is the second mover. To be honest, Europe was at some point the golden kid of the world, but now Arab world is, and you call it PR, what do you call it? PR heroism, marketing, whatever you call it. They have done so good, and 2025 was a testament to it.
I think you're
Everyone was
right.
talking about
It has
the money
played
here.
out in different industries
Yeah.
in different ways, actually. We see it with the mega projects.
Yeah.
A long time. Wait, before Burj Khalifa, which was the tallest building in the world? Was it the
think-
Eiffel Tower?
No, no.
I'm not sure. But
the
it was.
Empire State Building.
But it
I
was
think.
it was somewhere else,
Yeah.
and then right after that, you have Dubai, and they come build the tallest building in the world that
Yeah.
thousands of people visit the UAE, visit Dubai to come and see for New Year's. So
It's
I think you're right. I think it's played out across multiple industries.
Warisan Merdeka Tower. Just in case you're
Where is that?
wondering, it's in Southeast Asia, Burj Khalifa. Tell me the country. Since this AI version has come of, Malaysia.
Okay.
Second tallest building in the world.
And that's a wrap for today, everyone. Thank you for tuning into the Smashy Business Show. Make sure to follow us across all social media channels at Smashy Business and stay ahead with our daily newsletter. You'll find the subscription link in the description.
This has been a Smashy Business Show, Smashy Business production, part of the Augustus Media Podcast Network. A big shout out to our more than 2 million monthly listeners across all platforms who make this possible. If you're one of them, we appreciate you. Happy New Year. I know we're one day late, but we did an AI version yesterday. So have a great day. We will see you tomorrow. Have a nice weekend.
See you next week.
See you next week.